we're going to go ahead and get started with this. You can use any style, size tumbler you'd like. I personally prefer the football shaped ones. So you're going to paint epoxy glitter your tumblers, and then you will epoxy them again. So pretty much you're just going to prep them fully before you get started with the epoxy sculpt. The glitter I'm using here is called Men in Tights. It is an ultra fine green metallic, and I thought it was perfect for this tumbler. Now, you're going to see the epoxy sculpt has a part A and a part B, and you're going to want to take equal parts of both of them and knead them together. It took me about maybe 3 minutes to get it combined fully before I was ready to start using it. And you don't need to worry because it actually, unlike epoxy, you have probably a good hour to work with it before it starts getting really hard. So the first piece that I'm going to make for our little gnome is going to be the nose, and you're just going to make a ball in your hand about the size you want, and you're going to put it on your tumbler and smooth it out. You're going to want to make sure it is smooth, as smooth as you can possibly get it around the edges, to make sure that it is completely adhered to your tumbler. And then the next thing I did was I made a rim for the hat. Now, don't let me fool you here, because what you're seeing is my third attempt at trying to get the hat rim on there and get it straight and smooth, because it kept falling apart on me. But once I figured out how to do it and get it smooth without it breaking apart, it was wonderful. So once you get that all smoothed out, don't be discouraged by how long it takes, because it really does take some time to, get it smooth and get it on and make sure it's all on there. And depending on the type of gnome that you're making, my gnome is going to have a beard, so I just took another piece of epoxy sculpt and just worked that out. And like all the other pieces, you're going to want to shape it smooth, make sure it is the size you want it, and that it's adhered to the tumbler. And I took my paintbrush, and that's what I use to put designs into the beard, just to kind of make it look a little bit more like textured, like a real beard would. You can do this however you want. Use a toothpick. I just used my paintbrush because that was what was right next to me at the time. And you're just going to do the same thing for the top of the hat. I put these pieces on the next day. It takes about 3 hours for the epoxy sculpt to harden. So I waited until the rim was pretty sturdy before I put the other pieces on, so I could smooth them together, but still being able to keep like the definite rim shape. And again, it's a lot of smoothing, a lot of adjusting. It It's completely normal with things like this, so definitely don't get discouraged if it isn't taking shape the second you set it on. So it does take a little bit to smooth everything out. And you're going to want to make sure you're taking off the excess at the rim as you go along. Now the last piece I'm going to put on is just going to be the floppy part of the hat. Now, I went ahead and let this sit overnight, and then the next day I went through and made sure that I cleaned the rim just like I would on any other tumbler before I started painting. That way, if anything chipped, I would be able to fix it. Now you can take your knife and go through and clean up any of the pieces of Poxy Sculpt that are kind of just lingering around. But you need to just be careful. I know how sharp my knife is, so I know if it's going to cut me. And then you can go ahead and just start painting. Now, when you're done painting sections, you can use your X-Acto knife and an alcohol pad to go through and clean up any paint that spilled over onto the tumbler. It actually cleans up really, really easily. I was actually able to scrape off a lot of it with just the alcohol wipe, but some parts I couldn't reach with just the wipe, so I had to use the knife. And then you're just going to continue on and keep painting. I used really thin brushes to help get into the smaller cracks, and I like to start from the bottom and work my way up. So that way, if anything, any paint got underneath, it would just be covered up by the next color. Now, this particular tumbler was pretty challenging for me. I've never used Paxi Sculpt before or any type of clay, but it was really, really fun once I got started. So, if you haven't tried it yet, please don't be intimidated by it. Once you get going, you will probably love it. Now, after your paint is completely dry, you're going to want to mix up. I think for this particular tumbler, I mixed about 20 milliliters of Fast Set from CC DIY, and I really took my time making sure that I got everything covered on this gnome, which wasn't easy because there's a lot of folds and stuff. But once I got the majority of it covered, I was pretty confident that the rest of it would kind of flow as it spun. So for this guy, I put 2 coats of Facet on there, and then one solid coat of artist resin at the end. So he was completely sealed. And don't forget to use your torch to pop any bubbles. And that's it, you guys. I mean, that was 4 days worth of work in 15 minutes. So I hope you learned something from this, and please don't be afraid to try to make a gnome. And thank you so much for watching.